Okay, in part 2 we're going to cover the cost approach, and this is based on a knowledgeable purchaser will pay no more for a property than the cost of acquiring a similar site and then constructing an acceptable substitute structure based on the principle of substitution. And the maximum value can be measured by determining the cost to acquire an equivalent site and to reproduce a structure as if new, and then subtract for depreciation. We'll explain that a little bit later on. First of all, we have to estimate the reproduction cost. Now, appreciating maybe our subject property is 4 years old, and when I actually estimate how much it is going to cost to reproduce this property, when I've reproduced it, theoretically, it's going to be a brand new building. And then we have to depreciate it over its economic life by the 4 years. We talk about that later. So we estimate the reproduction cost, we subtract the accrued depreciation to derive the depreciated value of the structure, and then we add in the value of the land. We estimate the value of the land, and then we add in the value of the land to the depreciated value of the structure, and we get our final indicated value. We've got two ways we can actually reproduce. We can actually reproduce the structure exactly using the same materials and the same methods as it was originally built with. It's going to be costly and sometimes hard to do, or we can actually use a replacement cost to build a structure with the same use and function, but not an exact copy, but it has the same square footage, same number of rooms and so forth. There's different ways of doing this. We can use a comparative square foot method, or we can use a comparative unit or unit comparison, and for these we use an estimation handbook, and the cost is estimated based on current cost to construct a building of the same size, design and quality in your area. Just going to show you an example of a cost estimation handbook here. And here it is. This is the actual one of the actual books. It's a two-year-old. Costs you $78, and is provided by a construction institution, but essentially is quite large. It's over 52 pages, and you can see all the different areas and different bits and pieces as a house it will require, and the cost per square foot and so forth. And that's where builders would get, or appraisers would get their information from. This information is provided by research and construction builders. Let's use the comparative square foot method first of all. Out of the book we say, let's supposing for instance from these tables we know that to build the main dwelling it's going to cost us $80 a square foot, and the main dwelling is going to be 2,110. It's going to cost 168. Same for the utility room, is going to cost $52 a square foot, and for the porch it's going to cost $32 a square foot, and maybe the garage $45. We add all those up and we come to a total estimated value of $195,000. Next we have to subtract the accrued depreciation. In other words, we have to now reduce the quality and the age of my newly constructed building down to that of my subject property. An accrued depreciation represents the loss in value between the subject and an exact new replica. Remember, we don't depreciate land, we don't take into a land, so it's important that we deal just first of all with the costs of the building. And we regard a defect is curable if it is cost effective to correct it. Increase in value is at least equal to the cost to correct. So if there is a defect in a building and we want to repair it, as long as it doesn't add less value to the building than we actually spend on it, then it is curable. What types of depreciation do we have? We have physical deterioration. That's due to a normal wear and tear, due to weathering, lack of use, lack of maintenance, exposure to elements. We also have functional obsolescence. The home's fine, but it doesn't work the way I want it. It's got long corridors, it's got small bathrooms, or it's just not what I want anymore. If we over-improve a property, we put that $20,000 bathroom or $20,000 kitchen into a home that doesn't deserve it, that is also a form of functional obsolescence. And we have external obsolescence. It's a loss in value due to something outside of the property boundaries. In other words, something which is nothing to do with the owner of the home. Maybe there's been condominiums built opposite when once upon a time I could see the beach, or there's a factory just down the road going up, and that sort of thing. Sometimes the majority of appraisers take into account the observed condition of the subject property, and then they base it on the ratio of the effective age indicated by the structure's condition and utility, to its economic life. That's the total years a structure is properly useful after the economic life. Normally we use 60 years, not always. After 60 years, we have to put more money into the property than it's worth to maintain its value. Here's an example of a property tax card. It shows you that the appraiser's gone around the assessor and says, listen, this home was built in 1957, but because it has had a lot of upgrades and a lot of improvements and maybe a lot of remodeling, we regard this looks the same as a home built in 2005. And this is the year that we use. If it's not present, then we actually use the year built. And then what we do, we look at the effective age, we divide it by the total economic life, and if we multiply that by the reproduction cost, then we come up with the accrued depreciation. So for instance, if a home is 4 years of age and the total economic life is 60 years, which is basically 4 divided by 60, which is the same as 1/15, then I would take 1/15 of the reproduction cost, and that would be the amount I would have to knock off for depreciation. Or another way is to get the reproduction costs, divide it by the total economic life. So the total cost divided by 60 years in this case would give us our annual depreciation. And how old is my subject property? 4 years. I multiply that by 4 years and I get the accrued depreciation. Both ways work out the same. For example, here's a building which is 225,000. We know it has an economic life of 60 years and the subject property is 4 years. I built this house in my mind using the cost depreciation method, and I know it came out to 225,000 to build this house. I know it's going to depreciate by 225 divided by 60, which is 3,750 per year. My subject property is 4 years. I want to depreciate my cost depreciated house by 4 years. Therefore, I multiply that out and it's 15,000. So I knock off 15,000 and then that makes my cost depreciated model $15,000 cheaper. And that's the value I would use on my subject property. And then, of course, we add in the estimated value of the land. We've got to estimate the value using the sales comparison approach like we previously did just now. And you come up with a final value. There's another way, is the comparative square foot method. Sorry, to continue on with the comparative square foot method. Okay, so here we have our final cost adjustment when we've taken off the depreciation. In this case, it was 13,000 according to the book. We add in the value of the land, and therefore, we add in a bit of landscaping and the driveway, which we don't do under the normal construction phase of it, and we come to $225.97. Alright, I'm going to end it there. That's the cost depreciation method. And we're going to go on to part 3, which is the income approach. Thanks.